Ahoy, fellow book lovers, and welcome to our very first episode of Shelf Indulgence, the show where librarians let their shelves do the talking.
Brought to you by Pioneer Memorial Library, where the only thing we love more than books is talking about books.
And today's theme is Desert Island Reads. That's right. If we were stranded with nothing but sand and sun and one library bag, what three books were you going to bring along for survival and sanity?
These are the books you just can't live without. The comfort reads, the mind blowers, the dog-eared coffee-stained MVPs of our collections. We are your hosts, Katie
and bye. So grab your sunscreen, your imaginary hammocks, and let's get shelf indulgent. So Katie, tell us, what three books are you bringing along with you?
Well, I kind of cheated because I could not pick. And so I have, my first one is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And this one is actually a three-part series. You have to read all three, quite honestly. So it's The Bear and the Nightingale, The Girl in the Tower, and then The Winter of the Witch. So these are books that have elements of Slothic mythology and folktales alongside historical events and characters. So it's truly a coming of age type book. You follow Vasya Petrovna through the Russian wilderness and her journey of self-discovery. What's really interesting about this is the weaving of the Slavic folk tales and the Russian history, because you have Ivan the Terrible within there, which truly was a historical figure. And so you learn a lot of historical facts along with the Slavic folk tales. It's very interesting, and I love this series. But again, you have to read all of them. You can't just do one. So I cheated. Sorry. So I get 5 books, not 3.
We'll have to ask the audience if they think that one whole series counts as a one book. I mean, I would totally go for the same thing. So
I think so.
What else you got for us?
So my next pick was kind of a newer one. It's called Circes by Madeline Miller. And again, this one is set in Greek mythology, so I'm again going kind of with folklore fantasy again. But it's a mythic fantasy novel. And it's told from Circe's perspective, exploring life from childhood in the house of Helios to her exile on a deserted island, and her encounter with the well-known hero Odysseus from mythological tales. So, she was a powerful sorceress, a minor goddess in Greek mythology. She's known for her ability to transfer people into animals. I know everybody may know the tale of where she turned all of Odysseus' men into pigs, but I think ultimately this book is one of my favorites because it's about a woman was extremely hurt by men and women in her life, and she was still able to pull together the threads of her life and make a difference. I really love this.
I also love the cover.
I know, it's so pretty.
I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but
it's kind of hard
tend to not to. Oh my God, it's hard not to definitely do that. But that's okay. Great, fantastic.
All right. So again, following in my theme of historical and fantasy and all that.
You got yourself a thick one there.
I figured I should bring this one because it would last me.
Also good for paperweights in case we find any out there, right?
I know there's no rocks out there. What are you talking about? This one, it is 957 pages, so it might take you a bit. But this one is it's The Memoirs of Cleopatra by Margaret George. She's ultimately my very favorite author of all time. She does biographical fiction of huge characters in history. So this one's Cleopatra. She has King Henry VIII. She does Mary Queen of Scots, Helen of Troy. She's a fantastic author, and she researches her books for about 10 years at a time before she writes them. But this book entails, obviously, it's Cleopatra's life from the time of a little child when she loses her mother to a drowning incident to her ultimate suicide. But it's about her three loves in life, which was Caesar, Mark Antony, and Egypt itself. It's beautifully written, and I couldn't say enough about this book. So, and it will take me a while, so
Yeah, it's one of
I'm
those
good.
good long reads, and I
That's
see
right.
that apparently it is now a major television event, so
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yes, yeah. So if you want to just watch the TV show, you can, and then maybe you'll want to read the book too. But
Yeah. Well,
it's
we can't take
wonderful.
the TV with us, so this is what we are taking along, which
That's
we
right.
need. We absolutely need.
That's right. All right. Well, I gave my three. What
Okay, I was like, all right.
what do you have in store for us?
I'm gonna say that my reads are much thinner, probably, and less, which means that I'm probably gonna be borrowing your books if we're on hopefully the same island, so we don't get tired of
That's
reading
right.
maybe the same. But I wouldn't. It's just so my very first pick would be Bless Me Ultima. It's by Rodolfo Anaya, and it is definitely for me. It's very cultural and folklore as well, and they talk it's just about a 6-year-old boy. The whole story is about a 6-year-old boy finding his own, coming to terms with what is expected of him, and what. So he meets his this lady, which technically the family brings in, which her name is Ultima, which is why the book is called Ultima, and the young boy's name's Antonio, and she is what you call a curandera, which is a healer. Okay, and so she heals with a lot of herbs and what you would call potions. So they would call her what we would consider nowadays like a white witch, right? And so she did all of their spells and whatnot for good to help people out. And so he's following her as a 6-year-old, and he's in awe of all the things that she's doing and how she knows so much, and she's very knowledgeable. And her spirit animal is an owl, and so it just kind of follows what he's expected. She's a totally different person, and he's learning about his religion and his family, what things are allowed, what things are not allowed, what's right, what's wrong. And so he's just coming it's like, yeah, definitely coming to terms with who he's going to be and what he thinks is right. So I really like it. I think I read this for college, no, high school, and then I had to read it again for college because they did make us do something. But I enjoyed it every time because it's just really cool reading the book from the perspective of sort of like the 6-year-old and how he sees the world through his eyes. And it is a really well written, and it talks so much about the folklore and how all those and the herbs and just different things of that nature. I just find it very interesting, and it kind of connects me to the same thing of like my roots and how I remember growing up, hearing my grandma talk about certain things as well, and all the natural remedies that we grew up learning about. And so it's kind of one of those that I would bring for like nostalgia purposes. I have a newer book that is more new, which is The House in the Cerulean Sea here, which is also by TJ Klune, which he has some new ones that just came out, and I think we were discussing it just the other day. But I really think this story is really cute. I'm a huge superhero fan. I like reading comic books and things of that nature, and so like the movies. And this kind of reminded me of that because it's sort of a superhero type of aspect, except for it's following all these children that have been orphaned, right? And so they are magical youth kids, and so each one of these kids has like their own sort of magicalness to them, and it's following their storyline and the house that they live in with this guy. Linus Baker is the social worker who follows the kids, and he is in charge of checking on them to make sure that I guess, the orphanages or the places where they live are being well kept up and that they're getting taken care of properly. And so the 6 kids that live there with this guy named Arthur, there's like a gnome, I believe. There's a sprite, a blob. I believe there was a blob in there, a child that they call the Antichrist, which is insane, but it's just so cute because each one of these kids, again, and they're little kids, and they're also learning about their magical powers, and they're also feeling like rejected and why people don't want them. And so it's really nice to follow their whole story of feeling like they found a home.
Mhm.
And this is what this guy does at this place, which is Arthur. And he just gives them that place and that belonging. And I think I would take this because this is what it reminds me of, like a superhero
Yes.
type of flick in its own terms. So I can just imagine what all these kids are doing. So I really, really, really like this story. I thought it was really cute. And I also,
Very comical too.
yeah, I was like,
Just,
there's
you
definitely,
laugh out loud.
yeah, there's definitely a bunch of those kids come up with some crazy things and sabotaging and all these things that they're doing because they're afraid they're going to get taken from their home. And so, yeah, absolutely. This is a fun read. And again, just gives you those kind of vibes. My third book, it was really hard. So I decided that instead of getting something that I knew, that I would get something from my TBR list. So this book, I actually have not read it yet. And it is called Notes on Infinity by Austin Taylor. And so, yeah, I was like, it's definitely a different book. It's something that I wouldn't have normally probably have picked up immediately because we all have our genres that we usually would go for. Yes. And so I'm like, I would probably take something that I hadn't read and I would probably fall in love with it completely different because this is all I had with me, right? So this is a novel that follows two Harvard students that apparently cross worlds in a scientific realm, like they're studying stuff in a science classroom, whatnot, and they discover or they have a breakthrough of a medication, is what you want to call it, for anti-aging. Okay, so the promise of immortality. And so it's also where they're coming to, they're like debacling of, guess it's like the world of college and what they have to go through. First of all, it's like a whole different scenario in the world of college and trying to meet those, quotas and trying to get your, all the things that you're doing at the same time learning. And these two science kids end up partnering. And so they're also going in a relationship of learning how to make friends and becoming partners, business partners. And they also learn, I guess technically, like it's about success and relationships, and that's kind of like all that little thing. I'm not really, again, haven't read it, so I don't really know too much thoroughly about it, but it sounds awesome only because I'm like, okay, in science, I'm like two young kids trying to figure out, and then they figure out like how they came across this world of immortality sort of thing, like how did they know, what did they, what, yeah, and in the book I want to be like, what did they test this drug on, like what animal out there is probably living forever now. So I just think it's just interesting. It sounds crazy enough for me to be like, okay, this is something that I would totally be hooked into after I got into it. So yeah, this is one of my TBRs, which when I do read it, I will let you guys know what I think, or hopefully everybody else gets to read it as well, and you guys tell us what you think. So now that we've showed you guys, I believe, our 3 books, we'll elaborate probably just a little more. What book would you read first?
Good question. I think I might read The Bear and the Nightingale first, that series, just because you're already on an extraordinary adventure. At least for me, it's like you're on extraordinary adventure already. And so since that deals with a girl that is discovering that she has these almost superpower type things where she can see the mythical creatures of the Russian wilderness, it would bring a little bit of escapism to my situation. That's what I would do.
Yeah,
I was like, I would definitely, yeah, it's like you're kind of stuck. But also, thinking if I am on an island, I'd be burning up and hot. So I think I would like to read about the Russian wilderness. Something cold. Yes. And so I'd get a little break from the heat that way.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I wouldn't want to start in Egypt, where it's already super hot.
That's true.
Yeah. Again, comfort. I guess my picks are all about comfort.
Yeah, that's
where
a good
I'm
one.
comfortable.
Yeah, where it's going to bring you back to, okay, it's fine. I'm stuck
And
here on this
escape.
island, which hopefully this island also comes with like coconuts and pineapple, all these wonderful things we don't.
That's right.
The island we want to pick that we're the ones that, where we get stuck because we don't want to just get stuck anywhere. I think I would probably pick one of my TBR, which would be the new one.
Really?
Because I know what's going to happen with my other ones already.
That's true.
So I would definitely probably start with my very first one would be the TBR just because I don't know. And I'm currently in that status of I don't know what's going to happen. We're stuck out here, but we got these amazing books. So let's hope.
So you're up for the adventure, and I'm all about wanting
holding back.
Status quo.
It's got to get grounded. Somebody's got to be grounded. You know, we can't just be running all wild, right?
That's true.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. One of our other questions would also be like one of the characters. Who would you, out of all your books, which character would be one of your favorite ones?
I did pick this one. I think Cersei's would be mine because she knows all about herbal plants, and I think she would be the one that would probably take charge if she was with us for sure. Because again, in the book, she at her island, she has sent these women that have been abandoned by their fathers and, you know, beat down by their husbands, and she becomes very protective of them. And she learns all of these herbal potions and different health remedies and different things. So I think she would be the one that I would definitely want there. Again, a more grounding character, I guess. I'm discovering things about myself in this.
No, and actually, it's funny. I would have picked again mine. I picked Ultima for the same. I think because I know like she's very knowledgeable. She knows a lot about herbs. So if we're out somewhere in this island, I don't know about what plants are good and what not. Besides me trial and error, and we eat something that's probably poisonous, and then it's over for us. But hopefully we would take somebody who knows a little bit more about what natural remedies or abilities or food or just anything of that nature. So I would have picked her because she's also, again, super wise, knowledgeable. And I'm like, I need an adult with me.
That's right.
I can't be the adult in here. We got to bring an actual adult, another adulter. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, what about a guilty pleasure, like a book? Would we see maybe not one of these?
For me, I think it would okay, my normal genre is usually stuff that, or I'm going to say it's psychological thrillers. It just kind of transports you to the mind of either a criminal or the mind of the detective, whoever is, following the criminal, because you also, just being the detective in general, or the person who's doing the story, which is usually the stories that we follow, right? Like,
the things that happen on live TV. All right.
Yeah. So it would be
any particular book.
I would probably not pick a particular book, but I would pick an author, which would be Karen Slaughter.
Oh yes.
She's one of my super fave ones because all of her stories are completely different and twisted and just mind blowing as you're reading through it, because you think you know what's happening, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh my gosh, that's not what I expected was going to happen. And so it feels like it leads you somewhere, but it's absolutely not what you had thought you were going to. Yeah. The bad guy isn't always really the bad guy. And it just, it's just kind of twisted. That would be, if I could take a guilty pleasure, it would be that. But on an island, which is why I didn't pick, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be by myself, and I'm reading all these creepy stories, and I start hearing noises, just like when you were a kid, and your refrigerator's running, and you're freaking out because you're home alone, and something made noise, and it's just the fridge. But I would be like that. The wind is blowing, I'm like, what was that? Who's there?
Yeah, that makes sense.
What's yours?
Mine, since I did ask a question, mine is a series by ML. Again, a series, I like to cheat here. ML Bullock, called the Seven Sisters series, and I did bring it.
Okay.
Actually, it's all in one. It's 6 books. The Ultimate Seven Sisters collection by ML Bullock, and so it's set in the Deep South, New Orleans, and it has supernatural aspects of it, to where the main character, she is what's called a sleepwalker, where when she falls asleep in an old mansion or with an object, she can dream about the past and what happened in these areas. And so it's beautifully written. it's definitely a guilty pleasure just because I don't know. I don't know why I'd call it a guilty pleasure. Maybe I just feel wrong about reading it, but because it deals with ghosts and the afterlife and all of that. But it is just, you learn so much about the Southern history and different things that had happened, and they're renovating old Southern mansions and dealing with the past, good and bad, because a lot of bad happened in the past with in the Southern states. And so it's, I just ultimately, this would definitely be my guilty pleasure. And she has lots of other series. She has an Egyptian series, which is more up my alley too, about Nefertiti and her husband Akhenaten, where they went off and built the Armana in the desert, and pretty much that whole society died. You'll have to just look into it, but it's called the Desert Queen series. Yeah. But yeah, the Seven Sisters is where I would start. It's her best, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely swap out books with you if I'd be like in that side of the island and I'm on the other side. I'd be like, hey, we're gonna make our own library on the island.
That's right.
And we're gonna do a little lending. We'll leave it in the middle, and we don't know we're on the island together, and we're just magically these books just keep they just keep reappearing.
That's good.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. That's right. We're gonna bring Library Life with us wherever we go.
That's right.
One of our last questions here, so that we can get to our ending here, so you guys can finish hearing us jabber about books, because we could just do this all day. We have tons of books we could talk about. But one of the other questions was, is if we had the choice of having just one book and a guaranteed off the island option, would we do that? Or would we stay on the island with unlimited books?
Okay, so I would definitely take the off the island one, but because the books that I choose, they make me want to go to these places, and I feel robbed if I don't get to visit these places that I keep reading about. The Russian wilderness, the Greek Isles, Egypt, and down the Nile. I want to see these places for myself. And so I definitely think that I would take these books with me, and it'd be fine. They'd be the only books that I'd have, but I get to go on all these adventures and see all these places. I definitely would pick the option of leaving. Unfortunately.
I know, I think I would probably want to as well, because I would like to also more of an adventure. I want to travel to another island and maybe get stuck there for a little while and go from there. But I guess to play the advocate here of opposite, I would I would definitely, if I could. And if it was an island I was comfortable with and I learned to love now and I've built a home there now, and
That's true.
I would stay there. And just as long as the books, I don't know where they're coming from and how we're getting them unlimited, because the island's probably just going to be books galore, but that would also be a very nice way to just be living the rest of your days again out there. Again, it still all depends. Where are we in life, right? I'm like, am I ready to settle down on this island and just be here forever? Or am I ready just to take an adventure still? I don't know. My old aging body will tell me when that time.
That's true. I don't know if I can make the trips, but
but we have goals.
That's true. And with a book, you're making that trip each time in the comfort of your home or the comfort of a
deserted island.
So
that we found out that maybe you're on the other side and it's not so deserted. Who knows? Right. We don't know. Yes. Anyways, well, thank you all for listening with us, and whether you're marooned on a desert island or just hiding from your to-do list,
remember, a good book is the best kind of escape hatch.
And thanks for joining us on Shelf Indulgence. We always judge books by how much we love talking about them.
Until next time, stay curious.
And keep those books closed just in case you're shipwrecked tomorrow.